Welcome to the Best of the Immigration Answer Show. My name is Jim Hacking. I'm an immigration attorney, and we're happy to welcome you. And we want to say thank you to everyone who supports us on all our platforms, especially those who write to us on social media, follow us, and share their immigration stories with us. We're grateful to the community that we have built together and it has inspired us to create this podcast. We hope you enjoy it. Go for it.
Okay. Hi, thank you. Thank you for picking me up. So let me put myself in this position to make the question simple.
Great.
I came to the US with through marriage, and I have the 2 years conditional green card. I and my wife keep having this little argument, and she has been talking about I want to divorce for a while. I was like, okay. So I finally joined the military, which I will be proceeding in the next few days, few weeks. I'll go to the MEPS for the oath and everything. But the main question is, when I got to the US, like a year, just recently, I should say recently, like February, I had an affair with someone back in Ghana, where I'm from, like the country I'm from, which was like long ago. Just recently, I heard that it's a rumor, and that the person I have an affair with has uh, got pregnant and has a child. Um, right now that I am joining the military, I don't know if I should say I should tell the officers about that child because they are trying to give me naturalization. So I don't know if I should put the kid or I should let the kid uh, go first and become a citizen. After that, I can file for the child. I don't know which is which.
How old is the kid?
It's just some months old. Let's say 3, 4 months old.
So this child was conceived like 10 or I guess 11 months ago.
Yes. No. Yes. 11 months ago.
Were you in Ghana 11 months ago?
No. I was no. I
When?
was in Ghana. I came to the US in April.
So if you're the father of this baby, the baby was conceived right before you came to the United States?
I get to know because I did not know. I did not know anything about it.
No, that's not the question. I'm just doing math with you right now, my brother. So
Okay.
let's back up. Let's back up, okay? I'm going to pretend that your wife
Mhm.
that you're married to, that
Yeah.
her name is Wanda, okay?
Okay.
So you are married to Wanda, right?
Yeah.
Wanda is a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
Wanda came to Ghana and married you. Is that what happened?
Yep.
And then Wanda applied for an immigrant visa for you. So she filed an I-130
Yes.
and it went through. It got approved at USCIS and it went to the National Visa Center. Then Wanda paid those fees. And then eventually you got documented qualified. And then eventually you had an interview in Ghana for your immigrant visa based on your marriage to Wanda, right?
Yes, but I did not have interview in Ghana. I had the interview in different country, a third country.
Okay. Why? You don't have to say the country, but why was it you were living in a different country?
No, because of the backlog something.
Okay.
So yeah,
But when was your interview? When was your interview for your immigrant visa petition?
uh, it was I can't around February. I can't really around
February
February.
of
Yeah.
2024.
Yes.
Okay. And then did you get approved right away? Was there a delay before you got your visa? How long did it take between interview and picking up the visa to come to the United States?
It took about a week.
A week. Okay. So when did you get on a plane to come to the United States?
April 5th.
April?
Yep.
Okay. So April would have been around the time. So in other words, your interview was in February. You came in April. So sometime between February and April, if you're the father, that's when the baby was conceived.
Yes.
So if you're the father, then you had that baby, you conceived that baby while you were married to Wanda.
So let's say I cheated with someone else, so it wasn't like in a relationship with a person.
Like you had a one-time fling with
Yes.
Mary, the
Yes.
mother.
Yes.
Mary. Okay. Okay. And so was Mary, so you, okay. So you know that you had an affair with this woman named Mary,
Yes.
and then and then you didn't know anything about her being pregnant until when? When did you find out that Mary was pregnant?
This February.
This
After,
February.
yes, after death.
Okay. How did you find out that Mary was pregnant?
It's a rumor, and she she and her family came to my mom because she my mom has moved to where I am now, where I was before I left. My mom has moved to there, so she and her family moved to my mom and they confronted, and I told my mom, yeah, I have had an affair with her, but I'm not sure if it is mine or not, but I don't know.
So Mary came to your mom, and said, "Hey, me and Jay Soul had sex, and this is his kid."
Yes.
And so it's not just a rumor, like you heard it on the internet or something. This is something where the mother of
Yes.
the child says you're the dad.
It was a rumor till I really heard it from my parents, my mom.
Yeah. And when did you hear it from your mom?
This on the same February.
February. Okay. And when have you already filled out your N-400 with the military or no?
No.
Okay. And you can understand that if the embassy or USCIS finds out that you had this child around the same time, that you conceived a child around the same time that you got your green card, then they would think that your marriage to Wanda was never really real, and that your real love interest was Mary, and that you only stayed in the relationship with Wanda was because you wanted to get that green card.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's play it out. Let's say that you don't tell them about this kid, and we'll call him Ken. The kid, we'll call him Ken. I'm trying to do Wanda, wife, Mary, mother, Ken, kid. Okay, so Ken, if you don't list Ken on your N-400, then you're never going to be able to apply for Ken to come to the United States as your son, because if you do, then they're going to say you lied on your N-400 and you lied on your in this whole game of, oh, I didn't know that she was pregnant, or it was just a rumor. That shit doesn't fly with USCIS or the National Visa Center. Once they find out, it could be 15 years from now.
Mm.
They could say, well, you never should have gotten your green card, and therefore you never should have gotten your citizenship, even though you joined the military. That none of that shit should have all been disclosed, and everything could unravel for you by applying for Ken. And in fact, if they found out you had a kid, like if he tried to come or some other way he tried to come, that would be a problem. So if you don't list him, it's like a time bomb waiting for you in the future.
Okay.
If you do list him, then I think your green card's at risk, because if you do list him, then they're going to say that if they'd known that you were fathering a child with somebody else, they never would have given you the conditional green card, and they sure as hell won't give you your citizenship, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if I'm you, what I would do, did she list you as the father on the birth certificate?
Yes.
So I don't. If you're asking me, Jim, can I be cute and clever and not purposely find out if he's my kid or not before I get my citizenship? I think that's a really bad play, and that's how you look to be like a really sneaky person. If you does here's a good question. Does your wife know about the kid?
No, because I I have no, because I myself I have not also really like accepted, because I want to go and find out like with DNA test and everything first, because I don't know.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is you should do all that, but you can't slow walk it just because you're going through the immigration process. That's called fraud.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Good luck, brother.
So I sorry I did not get what you said. You did, you
Yeah,
said I cancel what?
you have to find out if this is your child, and if
Okay.
it's your child, you have to play it straight. You don't you. What I'm saying is sneaking in, not sneaking, but running into the military as fast as you can to get your citizenship as fast as you can, and to beat the clock on this woman proving that you're this kid's father.
Mhm.
That doesn't do you much that you think it as much as you think it will. In other words, it's almost it is worse.
Okay.
It'd be better for you to have actual knowledge of whether or not this is your kid and then decide what to do next.
Okay. So I'm just saying, since the time frame she gave me look seems to match, I want to be like, okay, if it is mine, fine, I will just accept it. So if I'm supposed to accepting it, should I put my conditional green card at risk, as you said?
Well, when you file your 751, you have to list your children.
Yeah.
And when you file your N400, you have to list your children. So if this is your kid, I mean, I guess the question is, Jim, do you think that it's enough if my name is on a birth certificate and the baby mama says I'm the only person she had sex with in a 3 month window, and that I'm the father, and she went to my mother to say I'm the father? I mean, I think it's trouble.
Mm.
I got to go, Jay. We're over time.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Comet the cat. Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Jim. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
So I just have a question for you. It's kind of a messy situation, but here's the thing. I'm on a conditional green card, right? The 2-year one, marriage based.
Sure.
Um, happily married. Love my wife. She's my everything, and
Great.
we live a happy life, you know. However, I was recently charged for shoplifting a Walmart. Um,
The, the,
however,
the old there were 26 things in my basket, but I only paid for 24 kind of thing.
exactly. But in this case, it might have been three things more than just one or two. And the prosecutor went full damage and gave
That's
me three charges for
for
it.
each thing.
What was that?
They charged you one crime with each thing that you didn't pay for.
Correct. Yes.
That's amazing.
Um, yep, the good old BS. But
Half that comes from Walmart. I mean, nobody, and I understand. I wouldn't if I had a store. I wouldn't people stealing shit from me either. But I mean,
right.
Target's getting rid of self checkout because of shoplifting. So okay, so you have
Okay.
three pending criminal charges all out of one incident,
Correct.
and you're a
Um,
criminal defense attorney.
Yes. So what happened is I first called my immigration lawyer. Actually, your advice. The first thing I did was look up Jim hacking advice, anything that you might have had on the
That's,
issue, you know.
yeah, that's
And
what
I,
I.
yeah. So I called my immigration lawyer, and this is where it gets really interesting. My immigration lawyer cited the Riley Act,
Right.
and and said. Hey, essentially, we're gonna drop you as a client because you're probably going to get deported for this. So, um, he said, I'm not gonna represent you on anything unless you get these charges completely dropped from from your criminal record. Um, so what I was, I immediately panicked, obviously, when he said that, trusting him as a lawyer. And when I looked it up, I did some research afterwards, and it might have not been as he said, right? Like some
Right.
things may not apply to me. I'm not entirely sure, but yes, in any case, I got a criminal defense attorney. He went over everything, and funny thing, the amount of goods that I'm being charged for is a very small amount. Like I think overall, after getting the evidence and stuff, he said that it was less than $50.
Right.
So he said that most likely, what's going to happen is that he can negotiate all the charges being, just becoming one charge, and then afterwards, um, potentially get a stay of adjudication.
That doesn't matter.
Now,
For immigration, none of that stuff matters.
right. So what I told them was, um, again, I am alone here because my immigration lawyer dropped me, so I had to do some research on my own because the arraignment is coming up fairly quickly.
Right.
So what I told them is like, hey, I cannot plead guilty, right? So I feel like a stay of adjudication requires me to plead guilty.
Well,
And
there's things you can plead guilty to. I mean,
okay,
you can plead guilty to disturbing the peace.
that's what I told them. I told them like I cannot plead guilty to a theft charge because it's a crime of moral involving moral turpitude, right? So I
Under
said,
50,
but maybe.
it's under $50. So, let me ask some questions.
Mhm.
Before you got married to your spouse, what immigration status did you have?
So I came as a student, and I overstayed uh, when I was dating my. I was a student, but I did graduate, And then what happened was during Trump's first term, my OPT card got delayed by I think 8 months or something like that. By
Right.
the time it came, they told me, "Hey, you have 4 months, and then you got to get out of here,"
Right.
which was a nightmare to deal with, right? But in any case, I started dating my wife, and we got married. I filed. I had Yeah, that's everything went pretty smoothly. I didn't even get an interview or anything like that. So
What? So you already have the 2-year green card, right?
that's correct. But I have to file for removal of conditions this year.
Okay. Had you had any kind of problems with your attorney before this?
I think my first case was pretty straightforward, aside from the fact that I overstayed. I mean, like I said, we're in a very loving relationship, and we've
I mean,
been.
like, had you gotten in a fight with each? Why was the attorney so quick to throw you under the bus? That's what I'm wondering.
I have no idea. He was an absolute asshole, if I'm completely honest with you. He essentially told me that I was going to get deported. So I don't know.
That's BS.
Yeah, he cited the Riley Act, and I looked it up, and I said, hey, but for the most part, I could be wrong, right? But I was like, this targets people that entered illegally mostly,
Right.
and I said, I'm not even like this hasn't even I haven't even been convicted or anything yet. I don't know why he's
Lincoln,
dropping me like this.
yeah, Lincoln Riley is generally if ICE finds out about a criminal who's out of status, then therefore they can use the Lincoln Riley Act to refer them to immigration court. It wasn't really a big sea change in the law, and it certainly doesn't apply to people who have been granted lawful permanent resident status. So I think
Right.
you're. And what I'm trying to figure out is if like you pissed the lawyer off before this, why or not? Like, why were they so quick? I mean, do they do stuff other than immigration where they just spooked?
I don't know, honestly. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, like since we first filed, because I sent him pictures of my green card when I got it. He said congratulations, and then I didn't speak to him, and he said essentially, hey, we'll see you in 2 years,
Which is true.
because I already.
That's not unusual. There's nothing to do. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So
So the criminal defense attorney thing, can you tell me, don't tell me the city, but tell me the state that this is in.
Minnesota.
Oh, come on. Those liberals up there, they got to let you off the hook for this. I mean, if I'm your attorney, if I'm your immigration attorney, I'm working with the criminal defense attorney to try to convince the prosecutor to amend it to something that doesn't make you deportable, and then Lake and Riley doesn't come into this at all.
Okay, perfect. Now, a couple questions, because again, my arraignment is coming up, and I want to be very prepared.
Well,
Um,
arraignment, you're just going to say not guilty. There's nothing else to do there.
right, right. That's the one thing. Now, my criminal defense attorney, some of the things he has suggested kind of sounded like, hey, like that's good, probably not for immigration though, so because he probably doesn't understand what a lot of immigration law. But I told him, hey, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but like I said, I cannot plead guilty to theft, ideally, unless I can plead to something if it's downgraded to a non-deportable offense. Um, he also mentioned the possibility of diversion for everything. Um, does that require a guilty plea?
It might in Minnesota. Every state's different. So comment. This reminds me of the call I get. So about once a month, I get a call from a criminal defense attorney, and the call always comes in at 11:45 a.m. They said, or 12:45. Hey Jim, I'm just coming back from lunch. I'm about to walk comment into the courtroom to plead guilty to this crime. Do you think it'll have any immigration consequence? I'm like, what the hell? What are you talking about? There are 50 states. Every state defines crimes differently. You have to compare those crimes to the federal definition of the crime to see if there's a match, and if there's a match, then it
Right.
can, like you said, render the person deportable. So I can't tell you that on this show. I mean, I generally, I think if a lawful permanent resident gets a $50 shoplifting charge, is that going to render them deportable? No. The one thing I would say is you should not leave the United States until you become a citizen. That's the one thing I would say, because
Right.
is when you leave and come back, you can get treated as an arriving alien, and it's much easier for you to get deported. So I think you're sort of stuck here, and you're going to have to wait 3 years from whenever this resolves to apply. Your clock is restarting because of the criminal charge, unless you get it dismissed outright.
Right. Okay. And that's fine with me. Honestly, that's something that I consider when I was like, yeah, you know what? Like I'll do it, obviously.
Yeah.
Now I will ask you one last question. Don't want to take all your time, but I did read online that a lot of time these, and I don't know if this is misinformation, but a lot of times these crimes involving moral turpitude have kind of a vague definition when it comes to like the sentencing. And for example, in Minnesota, I know that the crime is the max sentence is 90 days in jail and a fine, because it's not even like gross misdemeanor, right? Because it's a small amount. So if it's 90 days, but it's still a theft charge, would that be considered a crime involving moral turpitude?
It could, but generally, if it's under a year, you're going to be okay. But again, you can't be looking at shit on the internet. You got to
Right.
have someone actually compare and sit down and do all this stuff. We don't really do that unless we're the attorney in the underlying case. Like we wouldn't do that. Like I'm not going to go do this research just to tell you yes or no, because
Right.
I work on cases where people are hiring us. Thank you, comment. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello, sir. Thank you for doing this for all of us.
Sure.
I have a case, a marriage-based green card that we have filed, and my questions are the following. I have an old, in 1993, notice to appear because my parents requested asylum. It was a family of 6. The asylum was granted to only 3 out of the 6. So my parents decided to send us back. So we never appear. He sent us back to our country. That was in 1993. We came back in 1997 and filed for TPS and so forth. And I went to see a judge in 2024 and explained my situation, and the judge extended an order to dismiss. I requested my FOIA records now that I'm going to my interview, and for the first time in my life, I noticed that there was a second order to appear from 2001 because I was out of TPS status. I did not never receive that because we have moved so much. I personally have moved 17 times in the 27 years I have been in the States. So I never received that letter. Then I renew my TPS status and they granted that and I continue working. So to the best of my knowledge, I was fine. And I continue receiving TPS, continue receiving work permits. Companies always e-verify me. Nothing ever came up until recently that I requested my FOIA records. So that's a second or notice to appear. How do I handle that during the interview? I already saw a judge on 2024.
You're filing for adjustment now based on what, marriage or from a child?
Based on marriage,
Marriage. Okay. So walk me through, Giselle, how many times have you actually entered the United States?
2 times.
Okay. When was the first time that you entered the United States?
In 1993
So
is the first.
the same year that your parents applied for asylum.
Yeah, 1993, my parents brought the 4 children to the United States as tourists, all of us with visas as tourists, and they applied for asylum.
Okay. And then the second time that you applied or that you entered, how did you enter the second time? Did you have a visa that time too?
Yes, the second time I entered with a visa as a tourist in 1997,
And
and
how old were you in 1997?
I was 17.
Okay. All right. And then so that's really weird that they granted asylum to some people in the family but not the other. What's that all about?
It is extremely nonsense to us because all of us were children,
Right.
and
What they said,
w-
the mom and dad and one kid can stay, but the other ones have to go back.
uh, apparently, and that was absolutely nonsense because there were 3 boys and myself and the parents, and 2 of the boys have been taken by the communist Russian schools, military schools, like stolen from us.
Mhm.
That's why we flew the country. So they gave asylum to those boys and one parent, but not the other children and the other parent.
Assholes.
Absolutely weird.
Assholes.
Yeah. So we all have to go back because they couldn't separate the children or
Right.
the family.
So,
So I don't understand.
the
Um,
concern I have with the second notice to appear is that, I mean, at that point, how old were you in 2001? How old would you have been?
21.
Right. And so was that a notice to appear just to you as an individual or with other family members?
Just for my name to appear. There's no parent name in the letter. And this letter was sent to an old address.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
was 2001. And
Uh,
then
uh,
mhm,
your FOIA, did you get a FOIA from the EOIR or just from USCIS?
EOIR.
Okay. Okay. And
Yes.
from what you could tell in the FOIA, was there ever any action taken in court after the issuance of the second notice to appear in 2001?
No. From what I read on the FOIA, there's no referral to that notice to appear again. Now,
So
in the
nothing. So no subsequent order from a judge deporting you or something.
no, absolutely none. And
Was
there
it the
are
same?
parts.
Sorry, was it the same immigration court as had the first case?
Yes, San Francisco.
Okay. My concern with all that is, I'd be interested. Did you have an attorney help you with this?
No, I have never had an attorney for my case. I've always done it on my own.
So what I'm worried about are the answers on the 485 because they get pretty specific. Like, have you ever been ordered deported? Have you ever been in removal proceedings? So I think you need to think about how you answered those questions, and I think that the interview might be a little rough for you.
Yeah, that's what I'm expecting. In that question in the 485, I answer yes.
Okay.
I have been in proceedings, and then I explain at the last page. I explained my first removal because at that point when I applied,
Knew
that
about.
was all my knowledge, and then I presented the order by the judge dismissing that. Now,
Well,
what is weird to me is
wait.
that
Can I ask a question? You didn't even have an attorney for you yourself when you were in immigration court and you got proceedings terminated last year or whenever it was? That was all by yourself?
all by myself.
So what kind of representations did you make to the court? Like how did that happen?
Well, I made many phone calls. I talked to many people. I requested an appointment with the judge, and they granted that. And I went and I just showed up, and my husband was with me. And I said, we are in the process of adjusting my status through marriage base. And
Your
there
I-130
is this,
your I-130 was approved at that point?
yes, it was. And I showed it to the judge.
Okay.
And I said, my parents took us back. We left. We self-deported. So I would like this to be clear because I entered legally and I was underage both times I entered.
Yeah.
And he was extremely kind and very amicable, and he listened and then he dismissed that one. But the weird part is that they never saw the one on 2001.
Right. Well, hold on, Giselle. I would pause with what you just said, okay? We don't know what that judge knew. We don't know what that judge for all you know, that judge might have been looking at your 2001 notice to appear on the second case. And for all,
Yeah,
huh?
possibly because
Right.
yeah, we didn't specify
Well,
anything.
we need to take the position that the judge, I mean, we have no reason to think that the judge hadn't reviewed that your judge hadn't reviewed the whole file before terminating your proceedings, right?
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what the judge looked at.
You
Maybe
don't,
he looked at the entire FOIA records.
don't you think no matter
Um,
how kind a judge is, that before he terminates proceedings, that he would review to see if there's any other basis for deportation um, when that's his job is to figure out whether people should be deported or not?
Absolutely. And there were a couple of people that he was speaking to while in court, and he asked them,
Have
"Is
you,
her I-30 approved?" And they say, "We don't have records." So I said, "I do have records." And I presented that to him, and he said, if USCIS has no problems with that, I have no problems with that.
I mean, you have two valid entries. You have no unlawful presence. You're wait. So the proceedings that just got terminated. When did those start? As far as you know. Yeah, that's a good question. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, as far as I know, I will tell you in 1 second. My next TPS approval shows to be 2000. I want to say 2002. So it was just 6 months after that proceeding thing.
Right. But so you get your TPS from USCIS, right? Not from the immigration.
Correct.
So
Correct.
before you showed up at this hearing where the judge terminated your proceedings, talk to me about when you had been in immigration court between 2001 and that day. Like, how did things start back up for you again? I guess that's my question.
Um, I was never um at a judge with a judge ever. Um, the only time I have been in front of a judge is in 2024 because I requested my FOIA records for my marriage base case,
Yeah.
and then I noticed for my initial interview on my first green card application, which was denied at the end because of a very silly mistake, not for this reason. The very first initial interview, the officer told me there was a notice to appear. You need to go to a judge and have that clear before we can proceed. So I went to the judge in 2024.
And that's what you said, like you made calls and you asked them to. Okay. So then
Yes.
I think, based on what you just said, I think that what happened is the judge treated your nice request with no attorney as a motion to reopen those proceedings from 2001 when you got the notice to appear that you didn't know about. I think you didn't know it at the time, but you only have one set of removal proceedings. So whether it was from the old one when you were a kid, or it seems to me what happened is the USCIS officer was thinking about giving you a green card. They looked at your EOIR file. They said, oh, she still has a notice to appear that she hasn't dealt with. That means she's under the jurisdiction of the immigration court. Therefore, I can't give her a green card. Therefore, she has to, what normally would happen is she needs to hire an attorney and get her proceedings reopened. And then once they're reopened, then the judge terminates them. And I think that's what you did without a lawyer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't think you have anything to worry about. I wouldn't bring this up at all at your interview. If it comes up, I would just say, look, the way I understand it is the judge reopened proceedings and terminated. Here's the order terminating proceedings. You can address me, bitch. Give me my green card.
I'll probably not say that word, but
Well, my wife would get mad that I'm cussing, but yes, I mean that's the mindset I would have. It's like, dude, I'm here. I'm finally here. I got my shit together after 25 years. I've got my I've got my approved I-130. I got my motion, my order terminating proceedings. There's nothing left
yeah.
holding me back from getting my green card, and then be quiet. I
Okay.
wouldn't bring it up at all. But if it comes up, don't be like, oh, I hope she's not talking about that 2001 thing. I'm really worried about that. Be completely I mean, again, do I think you should bring an attorney to your interview? Yes, I do. But if you're not going to, you've got to be that confident and not leave anything to make it seem like you're not confident of where, because they're going to be confused. They're not going to want to look through that whole file. They're probably going to ask you to walk them through your complicated history. And what I don't want once your proceedings are open, you could have, let's say you got 4 notices to appear when you were on your birthday, when you turned 17, 18, 19, and 20. You had 4 of them. But you only have 1 court case. So once that was terminated, any old notices to appear out the window.
Okay. Perfect. I'll have that present and I will assume that position because I think, in fact, he must have looked at both and
Had to.
just see that.
And as you said, those people that were sitting over at that other table, that one you said there were other people in the room that he was talking to, that's the government attorney. So if the judge didn't have a job to look through the file and find out that you had this notice to appear, they certainly did. So
Yes.
do you know if they, sometimes the judge will say, I'm going to terminate unless you object, Mr. and Mrs. Government Attorney. Do you remember if the judge gave,
Yes.
and they said no?
Yeah. No objection from
Okay,
2 other people.
so that's your position, Judge or Madam Officer, not bitch, Madam Officer or Mr. Officer. I have an approved I-130. I was in proceedings. Proceedings were terminated, and I'm here to adjust my status. You have complete jurisdiction to do that. Let's roll.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. And the other question is, I am disabled. I am on dialysis, and my current husband and I sleep in separate beds
Yeah,
because of my condition.
sure.
I don't want to get into details, but it is what it is right now until I have a transplant.
Yes.
Should should just we say the truth, or should we not touch that part?
Well, of course. How long have you been married?
2 years and 2 years dating.
And I mean, really, the only thing that should be relevant is whether the relationship, the marriage was consummated, which means have you had sex? And you don't have to say, have you had sex since you got married? So that's really as much as the officer would get into. Do you have lots of good marital evidence?
Absolutely. We have vast evidence
You seem
and
very organized, dear Giselle. You seem very organized. So I suspected that you did. So so first of all, obviously, you're not going to bring that up.
okay.
I've never had them ask a question. Do you and your spouse sleep in separate beds? I don't think. Maybe once or twice in 20 years. So I don't think you have to worry about that so much. I would bring my medical records and explain, look, because I'm on dialysis and I'm waiting for a transplant, then I have to just sort of have a different kind of bed, or I have to be in a different room by myself so that I get the right number of sleep. So
Yes.
so I would just be very matter of fact and make sure that your spouse is on the same page, because you might get separated, so they got to be able to testify about it too. But again, don't be nervous about it or apologetic. It just is what it is.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we have absolutely, I mean, a
I,
lot of evidence.
my
And
friend, you have not come this far to lose out this case on not having enough marital evidence. Because you're such a badass. I already know that you were able to
thank you.
what you've pulled off. I know lawyers. There are lawyers in town charging people money to handle their immigration cases that couldn't do what you just did.
Oh wow, thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're a badass, and I hope you get your transplant. I hope you stay a friend of the show. We have friends of the show who like check on us all the time. I'd love it if you became one of our friends of the show and kept us posted on how your green card case goes.
I'll absolutely do that. And my last question is, I am a scene student, so I don't. We have a very strict lifestyle. I don't take vaccines, and because I am on dialysis, they pretty much force me to take the hepatitis B, even though I have had it as a child.
Yeah.
But they literally told me if I didn't take it, I could not continue receiving dialysis or a transplant. So I had to take it, and now that I go there, the COVID vaccine has been lifted by USAS,
Yeah.
but they will question if I have this lifestyle. I'm asking for a waiver on the vaccines. Why did I take one and not the others? So I will tell the truth, but
Okay. So does the doctor say that because of your condition you can't get the vaccines?
I have a doctor and rabbi, and he's the head of rabbis in this order.
Yeah.
So he gave me a letter saying that our lifestyle, our spirituality, that prohibits taking anything foreign into our bodies.
So that's not so great. I mean, first of all, I think right now vaccines are out the door. I don't think they're paying much attention to it at all. But I
Oh,
don't
good.
know that for sure, right? So you can't take that to the bank. What I'd much rather prefer you have evidence wise would be a letter from your physician saying she's on dialysis, she gets treated, she's had these conditions, these are all of her medical records. For all of these reasons, I believe that it's not in her medical best interest to get these. That's going to go a whole lot further than a letter from the rabbi.
Yeah, yeah. My doctors want to force me into taking vaccinations.
Oh, well, then you're on your own with that one. I don't have much to offer for that.
Okay.
All right. Good luck,
Okay.
Giselle.
Thank you so much. God
We'll see.
bless.
Yeah, you too, for sure. Hello, guest.
Hi, Jim. Happy Mother's Day. So I have a friend who is without status, and the first question they had is they wanted to know how can they protect themselves from ICE, just generally going to work and just driving around the roads. But another question they had is they're wondering if having their son, who's 21 years old, who's a U.S. citizen, if filing a petition would grant some kind of protection and if it would work for like indirectly registering for that immigrant registry. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, Jim.
What state do they live in?
It's Oregon.
Oh, right where I'm going. And when did they come to the United States? A long time ago, I guess, huh?
Right, more than 25 years.
And do you know if they have one entry into the United States or multiple entries into the United States?
I believe it's more than one entry. Yeah.
And did they come with a visa or an overstay, or did they come without a visa, just snuck in?
Yeah, without inspection.
Okay, so they came across the border. They had a child. That child's now 21. Does the government know in any way, shape, or form that they are here in the United States right now?
I do not believe so, other than filing taxes with the IRS.
But they haven't registered for this registry. They've never applied for an immigration benefit. They've never been in immigration court, as far as you know.
That's correct.
So that brings up this hard situation that we're finding ourselves in. So on the one, is the son just now turning 21?
I believe the son is now 22.
Yeah. So, I mean, they might have been better off doing this as soon as he turns 21. But now that Trump's in office, you have to ask yourself, well, if I file the I-130, I mean, they are now starting to arrest people who don't have status, who file an I-130 petition there, and they are arresting them at their I-130 interview. So these people have to ask themselves, on the one hand, I got nothing. On the other hand, I'm the parent of a U.S. citizen, so I could get it started. They should have gotten it started the day he turned 21. And now the question is it safe to file given the fact that the government doesn't know that they're here? And I just think that that would be a pretty big risk. I know they're supposed to register, and I can't tell people to not follow the law, but if they register or if they file the I-130, I think the chances of them getting deported go up a lot.
Okay, so you don't think it would be worthwhile to like indirectly file the petition so that the registration thing isn't an issue anymore?
Well, first of all, an I-130 petition would not be satisfaction of the registry requirement. So an I-130 petition is simply, I'm a U.S. citizen and I have a parent somewhere in the world who's eligible for a lawful or for a green card because I'm their parent. Now, they would probably put their address, their correct address on the I-130, but that would not satisfy the requirement to register, as far as I can tell, because most I-130s are filed for parents outside the United States, and when I look at what satisfies the registration, just simply having an I-130 on file would not be it. And there's no way to indirectly file an I-130. I don't know what you mean by that. You either file it or you don't.
Yeah, I think their concern was about registering or not registering, and so they were wondering if filing one of those family petitions would just take care of that indirectly.
No.
No.
There are other applications that do satisfy that, but a standalone I-130, which is all they could file because they entered without inspection, they can't adjust status because they weren't inspected. They're inadmissible. They're going to have to, I mean, if it were normal land, what would happen is Sonny Boy would file the I-130, it would get approved, they would begin consular processing, then they would file an I-601A waiver for the unlawful entry and the unlawful presence. And then once that gets approved, they would go back to their home country and go to the embassy to see if the embassy would give them a visa. Now, if they have multiple entries without inspection, like they tried to enter, they got turned back, they tried to enter and CBP caught them. That's why I was asking about that. That would give them a permanent bar, and none of this would probably work.
Okay, gotcha. Sounds good. Jim, so are they still doing the 2 year, being able to prove 2 years in the United States as a good protection just to carry it around with you?
Yeah, so if they have proof that they've been here for more than 2 years, that would at least keep them from getting what's called expedited removal, which is you get kicked out of the country without seeing a judge. And so that would be really helpful for them in this case, because where I would probably land on these people's cases is don't file the I-130 now, but if you get put into removal, you could file an I-130 and try to keep the case going until maybe Trump's out of office, and then you would do everything I just mentioned in normal times, which is the waiver and try to get the deportation stopped or slowed down because they have a qualifying relative and they have a path to stay. That doesn't matter in Trumplandia, but in normal immigration times it does.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Have a
Good
safe
call.
flight.
Thanks.
Hey, Jim, congrats with the new baby.
Thanks. That's exciting.
And thanks again for answering all these questions.
Sure.
So my case came to US back in 2016 with a tourist visa. Was planning to make some money for the lawyer to file the asylum case, and was stupid enough to not file the extension for the visa. And after a couple of days, I was detained and was in removal. Eventually submitted the asylum case, and later wife and kids won the DV lottery. And lawyer advised to not include my name in DS-260 because they might reject because of my overstay, and we did so. And he also advised that we'll submit my case once my wife became the US citizen. So they came to US. We applied for I-130 in 2022, and the removal was also dismissed back in at the beginning of 2024. The paper says it was granted with prejudice. I don't know what that means. Last year, wife and kids became citizen. We applied for adjustment of status, interviews the next month. So we have been married for like 15 years, kids and property in our name. Not worried about this part. Have no any crimes, not even the parking ticket. Because of like the removal was dismissed at the beginning of 2024 and adjustment status was submitted at the end of 2024. I had no status during this and no status when we applied for the adjustment. So the question is, with the current administration, how likely that things will go wrong during the interview?
So, okay. So you came first.
Yeah, with a tourist visa.
On a tourist visa. And how long after your tourist visa did your spouse come?
They in 2029. It's after almost 2 years.
You mean 2019?
2019, yeah.
Okay. So you come in 2017. She comes in 2019.
Yeah, correct.
And you're saying that on the DS that she came on a visit, or what did she come?
No. So when they won the DV lottery, my name was also included, but because
It was also included on what?
When you submit the DV lottery application.
DV. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, that's what I was wondering. So your wife won the DV lottery.
Yeah.
And you were here in the United States.
Correct.
And when she won the DV lottery, you and she already had kids?
Yeah. Correct.
And she listed all the kids on the DV lottery application.
Yes.
And she listed you on the DV lottery application.
Correct.
And then she went to the embassy.
Yeah.
And she filled out the DS-260 before she went to the embassy. She filled out the DS-260.
Yeah, but I did not because the lawyer advised not to do so because they might reject the whole application because of my overstay here in the US.
Jesus. Okay, so then. Hold on. When she went to the embassy. Wait. So on her DS-260, did she list you as her spouse?
Yeah.
Okay. When she went to the embassy, did they ask where you were?
Yeah, they asked me what I'm doing.
They asked her where you were and what you were doing.
Yeah, they knew everything, and they also requested for me to submit all my documents, like my ID, the work authorization, all this stuff, the case. I submitted everything.
Okay.
And
when you say you submitted everything, what does that mean? You gave it to your wife to give to them?
They gave me the email, the embassy, and they asked me to submit to that email. So
in other words, Lee, it was fully disclosed.
Yeah.
The husband was in the United States, that he had filed for asylum by that point, or no? I guess so, if you had a work card.
Yeah. It was.
Okay. So when they gave her the DV, they knew exactly where you were.
Yeah, they knew.
Good. Okay.
And when I was detained as well, I included that I remember including that I have wife and kids.
So they had full knowledge of her situation when they gave her the diversity visa lottery, when she got her green card, and then when she applied for citizenship. That was all sort of disclosed.
Yeah, and I remember the same question was asked during when this removal was dismissed. The judge asked why we didn't submit, like why my name was not included, and the lawyer explained that, the way she explained, we couldn't make it, and the judge said, okay, he will dismiss the removal.
Okay. Wow, what a case. So did this come up at her naturalization interview?
No, they just ask her who is, I'm the only one who is supporting the family, what I work, what I do, this kind of stuff. But that was it, nothing about the case.
Okay. And then so as of right now, she's a U.S. citizen and she has filed an I-130 and a 45 for you, and you're worried about what's this all going to look like when we go to our interview.
Yeah, the interview is the next month. As I mentioned, we have, I'm not honestly worried about this part, but during when we submitted the adjustment status and after removal was dismissed, almost a year, I had no status.
Yeah, but she's a U.S. citizen. It's okay. It's no big deal. Have you and your wife ever done a Freedom of Information Act request on your files?
Can you repeat the question, Jim?
Yeah. So there's a form called a G639 that your wife can fill out and you can fill out. It's probably too late now if your interview's in a month, but it allows you to get the entire file from USCIS for both of you. Did you guys ever do that?
Oh, no, we did not.
Okay, that's okay. And are you planning on bringing a lawyer to your interview?
That was not the next question. Is it do you recommend to bring the lawyer?
I do. I'm glad. I mean, it doesn't seem like you guys hid anything. It seems pretty straightforward. I think you'll get a fair shake, but there's probably going to have to be some advocacy there with the officer, because the officer is going to, I mean, I'll say this, at the very least, this isn't going to be a case where you find out on the day of your interview if you got approved or not.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to take a little extra. So if I were you, I would want to have a lawyer there with me. I would want, I mean, obviously your wife is coming. So the marriage piece is all fine, but it sounds like you didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I would feel a whole lot more comfortable going into that interview with your entire immigration file from the immigration court and from USCIS. I mean, maybe it would be worthwhile going ahead and requesting that stuff, but I would think this interview is going to be a little bit tricky and a little bit hairy.
Okay, so definitely go with the lawyer.
Yeah. So if you want to email us and let us know if you need our help. Otherwise, I definitely would go with the lawyer.
You guys are not. I'm in Texas. I remember.
Yeah, we have a lawyer in Texas, and we handle cases in Texas all the time.
Oh, great. So
In fact, I'm going to Dallas a week from Tuesday. I have an interview.
And also in the Houston area as well?
Yeah, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin. We've been to all of them.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thanks so much, Jim.
Thanks. See you, buddy.
Well, there you have it, another edition of the Best of the Immigration Answer Show. Again, my name is Jim Hacking. I'm an immigration attorney practicing law throughout the United States, out of our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. If you want to get a hold of us at the firm, you can email us info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com, or you can call us at 314-961-8200. You also can join our free Facebook group. It's called Immigrant Home. We'd love to have you join us there. There's thousands of immigrants talking about the immigration process in there every single day. We also have our YouTube channel where you can subscribe to see all of our videos and to get alerted whenever we go live, whenever we're going to record another episode of the Immigration Answer Show. Maybe you could be a guest and ask us a question. Finally, if you're not following us on TikTok, we suggest you do @Immigration Hacking. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.